This is a very special video that we're doing. It's very special because it's something that Max and myself have been discussing about for quite a while. In just various ways. At times we talk, we say, we need to maybe get video and just record these things. And what we're having now, we call it the living room, because we're doing it in our living room. So that's the whole idea we've been talking about.
She's coming to you.
I think, when did we start talking about this? About
Yeah. I think a month or a few weeks ago.
few weeks ago, but the idea of the living room itself.
Yeah,
I remember we were driving coming from the southeast.
Yeah, I think it's been over a year now.
Okay, so we both have this thing in us, but then after he gave his message today, and I was upstairs, and the whole thing was just going in my head, and so blessed with all the things he said. So many things, and it just dropped within my. I came down and I said to him, right, we're doing that living room today, so here you go. The living room, the idea is these are discussions we have. We have these discussions. If anytime he ministers, I will ask him questions, we will talk about it, and poke into so many things, and vice versa. And so what you are saying is what we do and what we've been doing. And what's added to this bit is that now we have camera that attached to it. And we really pray and hope that it will just be like the way we used to have a discussion, that it wouldn't be like, oh, we're doing it for the sake of the camera. Yes, the camera is there, but for you to just have that insight about certain things and ways, and that we discuss, that God will enable us to discuss. Who knows where this will take us, where the Lord will lead us into these things. You never know. I mean, like you said today, like you never despise small beginnings.
Yeah.
So, and I've been so blessed by all your messages. I mean, not even today, or YouTube messages, way before. And I don't say that because it's a cliche that people use, that I've been so blessed. I have, and I'm so privileged. People who know me very closely, they will testify that, yes, Vicky always talk about how I feel so blessed to have you as my husband, and the things that you say, and I always see you and consider you to be my priest, my pastor, my leader, that person that speaks into my life. Yeah. And at times you probably don't realize it, because there are certain things I might do or say that's coming from that wife's perspective that makes you think, oh, but I do. And so this discussion, guys, nothing is scripted or planned or anything. Like I said, it's discussions that we have. Okay, so what I've said to him, that I said, so we haven't prepared anything. These are questions I've had in my mind based on the message, and we're just going to have this discussion, and we hope and pray that you guys will be blessed as well, and probably we'll look into the possibility of how you guys can join in, or maybe questions. Who knows where the Lord will lead us. So let's get this started now. Okay. So you spoke today about the topic that it's worth more to be considered. Okay, and I was the whole thing has just so blown away by the way and the things that you said, even though prior to us really getting the video up, we had some technical hitch, and I can see that you are a little bit disturbed, but it's amazing how in the midst of those disturbances, God was just speaking through you. I think without even you realizing it. And that was what I said to you after when we were discussing it, because you were saying, oh, you didn't have time to do this, to say this. I said, no. The way God just ministered through you, it was just so powerful. The certain things you said, I almost said, you said that when you mentioned about Moses, that we don't realize what we have in our hands. And one of the reasons you gave is that because we've been blinded, because we've been blinded, we don't realize. And not just we've been blinded, but because we've been blinded by the insignificance of what we have in our hands. And I said to myself, wow, I was just looking at it, because for Moses, that was just a rod. And so not much significance, just to guide, sheep and put them away. But God was taking him through a journey and things like that. I really wanted you to give some more. What do you mean by those things?
The thing is, for coming to this message, I've been battling within me as to what to share, and yesterday night I had to change the message because originally it was going to be something about experience, and in that as well I was battling to get the title of it, but it's all around how our experience can be used to bring a whole deliverance and changes in the very things that are around us. And so with this topic of itself, looking at Moses and looking at the background of Moses, and realize that Moses was brought up in Pharaoh's palace, and he was a young man, and he was more or less going to assume the role of a Pharaoh in the long run. But then realize that God placed Moses there because he wanted Moses to learn a whole lot about the Egyptian culture, Egyptian language, and understand exactly what it takes and how they think, how they go about life. And so he was part of them. He understood very well what he was going to meet. And so God had prepared him well ahead of it. And so it wasn't by any mistake that he got himself involved in the kind of chaos he involved in and committed murder, because he was standing up for justice, because his heart really, got to the point where he doesn't want to see his people suffer.
Now that, when you said that, I listened to it, I said to myself, wow, if it was our age, like now, that would have been the end of Moses. Because she said that Moses committed murder. That would have been the end of Moses, because then he would have been in prison. Or, especially society these days, we're so unforgiving. That's not to downplay taking someone's life. That's not the point. The principle here is that someone you can have like a very tainted past, but God was looking at fulfilling his purpose. And I said, but hang on a moment, Moses, when I was upstairs, I was thinking about this again. I was like, well, even if Moses probably was put in I don't know how the Egyptian prison operates, but in prison, he was in the wilderness. So that alone in itself, it's almost like God said, okay, well, you're going to serve your term. Then after that, I will get
exactly. You can say so, because being in the wilderness for that long a period, it's as equal as being taken off all the luxury you had, because imagine you're in the palace and you've been respected and you've been
second
Exactly, and so you've been given all these privileges, and so you have a high esteem among people, and it's not like you're just any kind of person, but you were well known with such kind of position you find yourself in, and so for you to lose all that and be in the wilderness for that long is as equals to sentencing being sentenced to 25 years in prison or life imprisonment. Because he wasn't going to come back. He wasn't going to return back to Egypt. So that was the end of him being in Egypt or coming back to Egypt. So there shouldn't be any reason for Moses to come back.
And God called him.
And God called him.
That's why Moses was saying that. But God, what if they don't believe me? Because I think probably in Moses' mind, he's thinking, these people, it's not only one, the news might have spread that this guy did something. So he's thinking, well, what if they don't believe me? But then the other thing you mentioned is, I like the way you said that God asked him, what is in your hands? When you link it up with the insignificance, say, what is in your hand? And then you just throw that down and say, pick it up, turn into a serpent. For Moses, that was, like he said, the shepherd's rod.
Yeah.
But for God, it wasn't a shepherd's rod. So God said, what is in your hand? Moses said the shepherd's rod, because that's all he knew. That's like,
of course, because that's all he has been doing for quite a long time, and so that's all he knew about. That the rod is, that's what he uses it for. The staff, that's what he uses it for, and to guide the sheep, to do his shepherding work, and that was his career, and that was the tool he has. It wasn't just something which is different from what he uses every single day. He uses that every single day. It's an ordinary stick, but he uses that every single day as his equipment, as his tool to do his job. And so it becomes very familiar, it becomes very common. And so it's not something which more or less like some kind of huge value, because he's been too used to it, and it's just a normality thing to him. And so he keeps using it every single day. In fact, the staff has become so old and so unused.
Hasn't got any value. Why would God use a rod? Hasn't got any value. It's amazing the way the things that God used. And so when we try, I'm just thinking, like, if the Bible says that God is sovereign. He moves in mysterious ways. The way he deals with us is just so unique. He would have just said to Moses, right, Moses, this is what you're going to do, and I'm going to use the rod. That would have been like the rod, to use the rod because it's of no value. But it's as if God needed to let Moses see, just have a sneak preview of what that rod is capable of producing or achieving, if only because the rod was thrown based on the instruction of God.
Yeah, exactly.
That if only you can be able to listen and follow my instruction, this rod can be turned into something much more powerful. That was just the beginning. And Moses had to see, because then further down, it was the same rod that God used and say that you stretch over the river and parted the Red Sea.
Exactly.
The same rod, he said, use this rod to strike the rock, because now Moses have had that experience with God on a one-to-one level.
Exactly.
So when he now faced the children of Israel, he had no doubt
Oh, that's a
in
pleasure.
his life.
I think that comes, first and foremost, when he had the encounter with God. The encounter when he saw the bush burning and realized that, oh, how kind of flame he'll be there and there is no burning taking place in the bush. And so he was curious. He wanted to know about what's going on. And so that experience of seeing the fire burning and there is nothing burnt, and then he had the voice, and he had the voice being calling him Moses, Moses, and then he realized, oh, this is not just another thing. He said, take off your slippers, because you are standing upon holy ground. And so being on holy ground is a place where you start taking actions. You start taking off all the things that makes you who you think you are, in terms of protecting you, in terms of covering you, in terms of giving you that ability to move about because you think you can do it yourself. But it's a place where you're stripped off. It's a place where you surrender. It's a place where you give everything unto him, because you are on standing holy ground. And so the place where you just strip yourself and lay yourself before God and surrender to God. And so realize that when that happened, Moses bowed down to God. And that's a sign of humility, and he humbled himself to God and surrender all to him. And so at that place of surrender, that's when God began to walk his walk in his life. Because you got to understand, this is not just ordinary voice. This is the voice of God. It's not ordinary experience. It's the experience of God. And so you begin to get that experience of God there. And so when God said to him, what do you have in your hand? Because that came after the conversation. God had said to him, I want to send you to deliver the people of Israel, your people. When God said that to him, and then he said, but God, how can I go there? With all the things that I've done, I'm guilty of what I did, and in fact, who am I? I can't even speak. How can I speak to these people? If what I say, they don't even believe me. They don't even believe what I am saying. And God says, really? So that's all you can say? That's all you think you are? He said, okay, through this, he asked him, what do you have? So it depends on what he has. If he was having something different, God should have still said to him, throw it on the ground.